It's come to my attention that BFDI as a series is no longer the fun and witty show it once was. Instead, it's being a property exploited by lazy creators to get money out of its fans, just so they can be tested with their patience, just to see how long they can wait to get pretty much every little cent they can milk out of them. Over the past few weeks on the BFDI wiki, many users have been discussing issues with the BFB. This video is an unscripted rant on BFB as a series, as brought up by several users on the wiki and me as well, because I feel I have some valuable input to give. As I said earlier, or have I actually, this rant is unscripted, so be aware that I won't be able to give my best, so expect lots of stuttering, because this is going to be a long one. Buckle up. The criticism towards BFB has been available from its very start. However, at the start of the series, people were assuming that things could go better or go on, and it was typically ignored or in small numbers. However, as the show has progressed onwards and onwards, the show's quality has worsened, thus giving the more critical side of the fan base a chance to speak up. Many of these fans have feel that BFB as a season is either bad or good, but either way, they feel that there's many problems with the seasons that need to be fixed. So today, I've asked several users on the wiki what could be going wrong with BFB, and how we can, well, just talk about it and tell everybody why BFDI is no longer the same funny show that it once was. I'll be splitting this rant into two separate sections, one involving the show itself and the production behind it, because those two separate categories are separated not by a fine line, but a rather gritty and grotesque one. I'll be starting off with the first section, which I'll be covering the show itself. Be aware that as BFDI is a very orientated on opinion show, I won't be able to give my unopinionated answers, so I'll just go on. I'll just point out what people in the comment sections have wanted me to talk about, and what's the opinion, how it was handled, blah blah blah. Anyway, let's go on with the first thing. The first point I was suggested to talk about was the Taco conflict by Badness99 and Choco is gay. No matter what side on your opinion is, the Taco conflict has become probably one of the most hated parts of BFB. The Taco conflicts first started in episode 2 or 3, depending on who you ask, but all that knows that pretty much it pretty much started rolling down the hill at BFB 3 when the Taco hates began. The conflict was set up from episode 1. Taco was leading Bled to the basket and ended up killing herself and several other contestants on the way, meaning that they had to be recovered eventually in episode 2 during the Jawbreaker contest, and Taco was the only one not to be get out. In episode 3, Book comments about this, and well, she says that they abandoned us, and many other details, like, Taco abandoned us, and many other things, which would eventually set the roll of the ball going downhill for Taco, Book, and Lollipop. Before the conflict, Taco had very little to no established character. All we knew in BFB1, aside from the conflict, which is literally the only things we know about Taco outside of the conflict, is that she's a bossy leader, and, that's it. Lollipop showed at least some of her character before this in BFB1, and even before she was a contestant in BFDI 1. Lollipop was always portrayed as a snotty, rather lazy bitch. Lollipop is rather harsh, among other things, to her peers, often bullies them, and, to be fair, you either loved her or hate her. She was a very subjective character. However, in, BFB 10, during the epilogue scene, we see Lollipop listening to, Belle standing up to Taco after being a doormat to her, pretty much using her as a twinkle vessel. And, this pretty much started Lollipop's downfall as a character. In BFB 11, Book mentions Taco indirectly about how she won't help out, and Lollipop pretty much starts giving tacos on how Taco Taco isn't misunderstood, and pretty much disregarding her rather bitchy and, may I say, actually decent character. The conflict was immediately cut off by Gady, which she suggested Dora to go up. But even then, this started to show that Lollipop and Book were slowly declining just because of Taco. In BFB 12, Lollipop continues to talk about Taco the Book and how she's good and all that other stuff, but Book doesn't agree because, her rather kind and caring side, which was disregarded in BFB except for like episode 8, was like, I don't know, thrown out of the window like it was a baby and nobody cared about it. And ever since, Book and Lollipop have started a steady decrease with the fandom. While Lollipop has been gaining some fans ever since her personality change, which is absolute garbage, Book, however, has been seeing a decline in fans, and that's very sad considering that Book doesn't deserve any of this, and she was simply dragged into the conflict because they needed to save Lollipop. Lollipop was stated several times by Carrie and Michael that she was one of their favorite characters that they write for. Up until that point, Lollipop was probably one of the most hated contestants in the show, so they needed to do something about that. So they needed to come up with an idea. Ooh, I have an idea! Let's make Lollipop the one who ends the taco conflict! And although it hasn't although the taco conflict hasn't ended yet, it's pretty obvious and predictable how it's going to end. Lollipop stands up to Book, Book is wrong, and they go up for elimination, only to see that Book is gone, blah blah blah. The worst part about this conflict is that Taco is doing absolutely nothing about this, and she's just pretty much standing there waiting for something to happen. In episode 4, Book and Lollipop ridicule Taco over Taco doesn't have to be killed to be deceased in my eyes. Ha ha ha. The truest things really are the funniest. And Taco replies with, what the heck, was it really that bad? And in BFB 5, Taco is seen sulking while Book and Lollipop are mad at her. This clearly shows that Taco is having issues with Blatt, and she's clearly doesn't have a spine to stand up to them, and is instead relying on Lollipop to do all the work for her. Speaking of Book, her character has gone completely off the track ever since the conflict started. In B.F.D.I, Book was sometimes a little mean, but otherwise she was a rather caring and compassionate contestant. In BFB, she's just become a taco-hating machine, which is totally unlike her, and she's pretty much been flanderized to that only statement. While it's true that, in BFB 8, Book did show a more kinder side towards Saw when she messed up during the thing, it's pretty much the only thing that we're ever going to see of, like, not BFB Book in BFB. Belle isn't directly referenced in the taco conflict as she's not a member of B.F.D.I, but I think she's worth mentioning. From what is implied, it appears that Taco and Belle were very good friends up until the end of BFB 6. Taco decides to jump off the moon and give Belle the twinkle by tricking her and otherwise overstepping her boundaries as a friend, and pretty much disregarding her. In BFB 10, after Taco and Belle, after revived, are dying during the events of BFB 7, Taco decides to talk to Belle, and Belle decides to stand up to Taco about how she's not a doormat to her being used for contests. Unfortunately, Lollipop is seeing this scene and immediately takes Taco's side for whatever reason, and then continues to worsen the Taco conflict. So, all in all, the Taco conflict has dampened several characters: Taco herself, Book, Lollipop, and Belle. I'm pretty sure that I've not seen a lot of people who actually like the taco conflict. I mean, maybe it's early stages, but I'm pretty sure that if you ask any BFB fan, they'll probably dislike it. The second point brought up was the characters. This point was brought up by Lavender Syrup, Madness99, and Choco is Gay. A couple of people mentioned the sudden personality changes, which was Nickel in BFB9 to resemble his B.F.D.I personality, and Lollipop, who I've already touched upon in the taco conflict part. Another character mentioned was Fiery, who's pretty much been downgraded to a background character, similar to many others. He's even self-aware of how pointless and doing nothing he is. He also seems to completely forget Leafy after events of B.F.D.I, although one could argue that this has already been established in B.F.D.I 5A. Someone else has mentioned the disappearances of Saw and Clock, which it's probably going to be touched upon later in the show when a contestant probably notices when they're missing, so only time will tell, unfortunately. However, the fact is that, well, according to Word of God, aka production notes and whatever, Clock is dead and Saw is not dead but alive, but is simply missing. Somebody else asked me to talk about Pillow, which, to be honest, Pillow's actually my favorite character in this show, but that's still competing. Rest in peace, Bracelety. Never spaghetti, never forgetty. Actually, that doesn't work at all. Bracelety isn't a piece of pasta. People have noted that Pillow's character has been very inconsistent, and to be fair, it has been very inconsistent, but I'd like to argue that Pillow has never been given the focus, like many other characters. And, well, like many other characters, she's never been given a proper time to shine, and the only time she's been able to do so is in BFB 4, which is probably her biggest role to date. She blocks the forks. I was also asked to mention Match, which, to be honest, she wanted to be like Pencil, but of course, her matchy ways were always there, meaning that, well, Match was just being a bossy bot, no correlation with Golf Ball. I've been meaning to talk about Pin for a while. Pin has been pretty much been nice ever since BFDI started. This is probably to keep her in, but she's not BFDI Pin, BFDI Pin. In BFDI, Pin was very bossy and pretty much the leader of her team, and she took great pride in that. Because she said, "You need a heroic leader like me." She wasn't exactly heroic in BFDI, but well, she was one hell damn of a leader, and she probably became one of my favorite contestants in BFDI. In BFDIA, Pin decided to become more nice, although this is probably to keep her in longer just so she could have another chance, considering that considering rejoins, she was the second contestant eliminated. In IDFB, Pin has been shown to be much more friendlier and wants to be friends with Fries, who seems to be unamused with Pin's actions. In BFB, Pin has been downgraded to a whiny, scared child. Well, not exactly that, but you get my point. Pin's been downgraded to the point where she's not the rather uptight and boss character that she once was, and instead fragile and easily upset. I'm pretty sure that this is pretty much a lot of people have been talking about the forcing of Coin Pin, aka Coiny and Pin, which has pretty much shoehorned in since BFB 6. Although in BFB 6 it felt a little natural, but ever since it's felt very forced. So yeah, several of the BFB characters have changed in this season. I mean, that's supposed to be expected, but in many ways it's for the worse. The next point that I was asked to bring up was the plot, which was by Lavender Syrup. The thing is, I struggle to look for the plot of BFB because it's just really not there. Because even when the only episodes that have really plot heavy are BFB 1, 3, 7, and 10. That's it. Those are the only episodes that pretty much. Actually, I forgot BFB 6. Oh my god, do I have to talk about 4 dying? 4's death was pretty poorly handled. I was also asked to mention this, so I'm pretty much gonna go on with it. Basically, 4 is dead for like 3 episodes, everybody realizes that their dead friends can't come back, and they decide to bring him back. Like, they took for granted that did they still think that they had recovery centers? Because they were sucked up. 4's death was pretty poorly handled, and, nobody realized what was wrong with happened, and his comeback was rather forced, boring, and annoying. BFB 10 to me felt kind of like an episode that was just kind of a forced way to bring back 4 and make a rejoin, and also show off Exit. BFB 10 felt very weird to me, considering that pretty much it felt so forced. Like, it doesn't feel like it would naturally happen. Like, if I watched an episode like BFB 1 or BFB 4 or BFB 11, then it felt it would pretty much play out naturally, but in BFB 10, it's so forced it hurts. So in BFB 10, Fiery sucks into Donut and brings out the liquid containing floor, and the cowardly crybaby Pin decides to bring him back to life and gives the gratitude token, therefore giving the losers the rejoin, aka Leafy. The fact that many of the contestants didn't realize that their dead friends can't come back several episodes is pretty flawed. Considering that, oh no, my best friend is dead, and it took me like, I don't know, like Balloony died in BFB 7, and it took me like, I don't know, 3 episodes to notice he's gone. Honestly, the plot of BFB is next to non-existent, and the little plot that does exist is very nonsensical. I mean, of course, the plot is like, I understand it's like the more small details, but the main overarching plot that pretty much decides how BFB is played out is very nonsensical and very non-existent. The next point I was asked to bring up was the excessive Easter eggs, which was brought up by It's Not Aquitted. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Like, this is another point which was brought up by several other users. Either you like it or you hate it. Like Lollipop, it's rather subjective. But after the episodes went on and on and on and on, it's pretty obvious that the show is relying on references to be carried on. Like BFB2. Hey, remember this? Look at the pile of, Cloudy's collection. Or basically any other episode that has Cloudy's collection in it. Oh, look at this! Flowers, non-slip shoes, so ha! From 2011 have made a comeback! It's the most wonderful thing in the universe! Oh! Pin remembers Leafy's alliance in BFB 11 too! It's the best thing in the universe! Yay! But seriously, these references are becoming extremely annoying. Like, there's entire YouTube videos dedicated to pointing out the little references from past B.F.D.I episodes, just because that there are so many. Look, I get, like, an Easter egg once in a while is good, but there's too many and too many episodes that it's just become so reliant upon them. Like, hey you, remember this? Isn't this so cool? Aren't you happy to see it again? It's becoming very annoying. And next point I was asked to bring up was the animation by several users. Lavender Syrup, Human Guy, Choco is Gay, and Spongy 2, to be exact. The animation in BFB has gone very downhill, to be honest. With the introduction of more hand-drawn limbs and faces, my concerns were immediately raised for BFB. With having several animators in BFB, it would be pretty obvious to show who was animating. Like, the more fat eyes were drawn by Michael, the line eyes were drawn by Satomi, and several other things. The animation is very inconsistent, and it's very obvious when the animator switches. I mean, here's a quick rundown guide how to tell every animator apart. Michael, thick eyes and typically has some somewhat showy animation in it. Satomi, earlier episodes has line eyes and otherwise more stationary limbs. Cademan, we don't talk about this person. Kenzie has a rather thin brush and rather more respectable expressions. Maru, who is she again? Oh yeah, she was the person who did Exit. I can barely tell if she were the part she animated. So yeah, I couldn't tell everybody apart on how to, especially Maru, considering I don't think she's pretty much ever done like full-on animation for BFDI. It's really hard to tell apart if it's her or Kenzie. I can't really tell. Anyways, the animation is actually pretty good in the early episodes, like BFB 1 through 4. I mean, the animation's pretty in BFB 2, but in BFB 3 and 4 we get the CGI generated barf, the fork thing, and the 3D spongy. And then BFB 5 comes out of nowhere and kicks those 2 episodes straight in the ass for no reason. BFB 5 is a literal abomination and should be burned from existence. I'm only mentioning BFB 5 in this section because its animation here is that atrocious. It can all be blamed really on one person, really. Kane and Johnson, also known as Super Scratch Cat, he was hired for this episode to start animating. His animation is very sloppy and does not look like BFB at all. Like, why are Four's pupils so small? Why are Four's eyes like ovals for no reason? Why are the contestants' eyes so long and close together? Why are the limbs so... they're so liney and too stationary? And by the episode keeps on going on, his animation... I mean, in BFB5, his animation is definitely as worse. It's ugly to look at. I can't stand looking at it. Like, grab any frame that he's animated, and I can tell several reasons why there's something wrong in that frame. Of course, Kamen quit because he did bad things, and he also had creative differences, so I no longer have to worry about him making oopsies in the animation. So yeah, the animation in BFB5 is pretty terrible, except for like one frame, and it's... So BFB6 comes out, and things are a little better, I guess. I mean, Kamen's animation still sucks, but it's not as nightmarish. Yeah, Golfball has pretty hideous teeth, and she also has those ugly eyebrows that Kamen loves to draw. Of course, we wouldn't really get to see a new animator come on until BFB9, which Kenzie animates the night scene with Donut and X. I mean, I'll give credit where credit is due. Kenzie does a fairly good job at animating. I mean, sure, she's no Michael, but I think she does a decent job. Sure, her brush is weird and her 4 and X are pretty thin and off-looking, but at least the limbs and eyes are proportionate to how they should look. I mean, they're respectable to how BFB looks, there's no over-exaggerated expressions that go beyond the norm, and, well, I think she did a good job. Michael animated from BFB 1 through 8, and I don't think that there's anything I can actually criticize about him. I mean, he's been working on B.F.D.I ever since, well, Carrie thought of it. He's been working alongside it, he's been drawing it, so pretty much he knows how the characters look like, and I think it should pretty much be treated as the base to how the BFDI characters look. Satomi's animation is fine, I guess. I guess I'm too used to seeing on it, so I don't really have an opinion on it. Another issue that's with the animation, it's kind of boring. I mean, definitely the best animated episodes are, like I said earlier, BFB 3, 4, and 11, I think, are the best animated episodes in opinion. Oh yeah, BFB 7. I can't forget about BFB 7. BFB 7 was awesome. BFB 11 introduced more dynamic looks for the contestants and the stairs and all of that, and it was really sweet. In BFB 7, we got the Data Void that was made by Michael, and oh my god, I wish he was still working for the show. He's amazing. And I think I've already mentioned before about BFB 4 and 3, but just a quick rundown, the CG bar forks and 3D spongy. Since this is related to the animation, I'll talk about the dialogue reliance, which was suggested by Walton Paperclips. Another one of the more critical BFB ranters, commonly known as Uninteresting Ghoul, decided to want me to read his blog about it. And, well, I think his points are very valid. The freehand style of BFB doesn't take advantage of how it takes out, and instead it relies on dialogue and forces it to carry out instead of using the visuals, like, animation. So the show relies on forced dialogue to show things happening, like, as they mentioned in the blog, they could have shown Bless struggling to throw the balls instead of Gating just saying, "If only someone on our team was specialized in throwing." Of course, she is indirectly mentioning Taco, but you get my point. The show doesn't take advantage of the fact that it's freely drawn instead of using assets like the past 3 seasons. Uninteresting Ghoul's blog also brought up and praised the angles used, which were specifically the Foldy looking up in BFB 11, which I completely agree with. BFB doesn't really do this much. Because, I mean, drawing a new asset isn't that hard, is it? By far the most requested thing that people want to talk about is the screen time balance between contestants, which was suggested by Lavender Syrup, Walton Paperclips, Battle Reviews, Blue Light 439, and Choco is Gay. One of the most glaring issues with BFB is the fact that there's a group of contestants who get a lot of screen time while there's a chunk that don't get really any at all. There's several videos on YouTube explaining how many people have each lines, like Donut has the most lines after everybody else, and TV only has 2. So I'll start with the more screen-oriented characters, which the fandom likes to call screen hogs. The screen hog term was, I don't know who it was exactly coined by, but it was done sometime in early 2018 when they were talking about Stapy. And to be fair, Stapy gets a lot of lines. Stapy received a lot of unnecessary focus in BFB 5 and 8, and even when he was eliminated, Stapy received a lot of focus and it pretty much annoyed a lot of people. Like, Stapy wasn't really any extraordinary in any way, and him getting a lot of screen time really annoyed the audience. Even when Stapy is eliminated, he still receives lines and screen time. It just goes to show how much of a screen hog he really is. Other characters that were mentioned were Lollipop, which can be blamed on the taco conflict, and Donut. Donut receives a lot of lines. This is probably to make up for the fact that he was the first eliminated in B.F.D.I and that he was the host temporarily. And now it's time to discuss the characters who've had little lines. Like, I don't know, TV, like I mentioned earlier, had only 2 lines. TV has only received 2 lines, and to be honest, his voice isn't that hard to get. It's literally a text-to-speech voice. But for some reason, TV only miraculously has 2 lines, which he spoke one in BFB4 and the other one in BFB7. People frequently mention Ice Cube. Ice Cube received a new voice actress, Kenzie Bryant, who I've mentioned previously as an animator for BFB, instead of being Satomi Hinatsu in BFB2. Not BFB2, BFB3. She received a new voice actor, yet she receive little screen time at all. Like, Ice Cube has, received no lines since BFB7. If Ice Cube doesn't talk in BFB 13, it'll be literally 5 episodes since Ice Cube last talked. That's disgusting. Another character who I should mention is Puffball, who, despite receiving a lot of screen time in several major roles in BFDIA, she was given the cut in BFB. Amor Barreto, the voice editor for BFB since BFB9, has stated previously that he hates vocoding Puffball's voice, but doesn't know why she doesn't get so little lines. Eggy, I feel, is another character that I think I should mention. She receives lines, but she received lines in BFB12, but other than that, she's been rather lacking in development. In BFB, she's been promised to be given more lines in BFB 13, which is a good sign. Hopefully she'll be able to develop. All in all, it feels very strange that a select amount of contestants would receive lines and screen time, while a select few would consistently receive little. It's very odd, and it's really weird. However, Fiery Jr. and Nayli, characters who have previously had little screen time, did receive supporting roles in BFB 12, so let's see what happens. Next up is Plot Points Left Hanging, which was brought up by Sour Gimbap. Hopefully I pronounced her name right. During the course of BFB, there's been several plot points that have been brought up by characters, like the paper mache loser thing getting kicked, Eggy and Teardrop, among several other things that have been pretty much ignored since several episodes, and seem to have little to no sign of coming back or being touched upon ever again. The paper mache loser thing could have established Loser's backstory, considering that he, as during the situation, was a very popular character, and seeing a bunch of what sounded like blockies kicking his paper mache sculpture of him was very interesting and could have been expanded upon in future episodes, but due to Loser being eliminated in BFB 7, this couldn't happen. The Eggy and Teardrop thing has been set up since episode 1, and then was touched upon during the epilogue of BFB4, which also confirmed that egg objects hatch from eggs and decide whether or not they speak, and other things. And I honestly feel that this relationship has a lot of potential, but unfortunately it's been thrown out of the window because reasons and taco. I was also asked to mention Saw's disappearance as a thing, but pretty much Saw has been noticed to be disappeared in BFB 12 officially. So, Saw's disappearance could be noticed later on and something could change, but let's see and find out. Before I move on to the production section, I feel I should talk about the Bubble issue. Bubble, similar to Taco, has been pushed around, and it's gotten very annoying, ultimately derailing Match's character, making fans hate her, and then leading to her elimination, and then fans decide to hate Bubble. And, well, to be honest, I honestly don't really care about this conflict that much, and I don't really know much about it from the top of my head, that I can't really talk much about it, unfortunately. I'm mentioning it, though, because I know a lot of the people on the wiki aren't fond of it. So there you go. On to the second part, which is production. The production for BFB has been handled very sloppily and hastily. During the start of BFB, it seems that things were going smoothly when it was only Carrie, Michael, and Satomi. But ever since people have been being brought onto the team, things have been getting slower and slower and slower. Of course, there are other issues that I wanted to talk about, but let's just go on because I feel that talking about the production of BFB in general, aside from what goes on in the show, is also vital to know. The first, and probably most obvious point I would talk about is the scheduling issues, which was brought up by Madness99 and Ice Cold Lemon / ICL Lemon. During the start of BFB, it was established that the episodes would come out during 2 weeks, which was actually a fair trade-off. People were happy with this, and it was really good. And, well, BFB Free next would be released in 3 weeks thanks to a vacation for Thanksgiving, but it wasn't really that bad. I mean, sure, there was mass hysteria on H2 and Central because it didn't come out, like, during the time that BFB 2 came out, but otherwise, it came out in 3 weeks, and I guess people were upset with it at the time, but now people look at happy on it, and I think you all know why. BFB 4 came out in 2 weeks, much to the surprise of everybody, and in my opinion, it turned out to be a great episode. BFB 5 was the first of many episodes to be quietly delayed. This is because of a Christmas vacation, and, when it came out, many people were disappointed because, well, they weren't vocal about it. BFB 6 would again be delayed for 3 weeks, but I guess they were more vocal about it, because they said that there would be a thing, and there would apparently be a short animation that never came out. Cool. BFB 7 surprises everybody by releasing it in 2 weeks, which is sudden since considering that for the past 2 episodes have been released on a 3 weeks basis. But we were not lucky. The next episode, BFB 8, would be released on 3 weeks again. It's at this moment that Michael decides to leave the BFB team. I'm assuming that this is because of his Shrill Otter stuff, but, yeah, he decided to leave the BFB team for some reason. Due to him leaving, they had to hire, 2 new people, Maru and Amor, who decided to work with, the show's editing and audio and other things. And BFB 9 came out in 4 weeks and slowly disappointed everybody. Amor has stated before that BFB 9 is his least favorite episode, despite it being the first he worked on, because simply there were so many audio issues, which were very noticeable. Like in one scene, Fry's voice was being so loud that you can actually hear your speaker things, and Pillow's microphone popping. It was rather silent and people got hesitant, but BFB 10 came out in 3 weeks, which was surprising considering the new staffing. And then it took a while for BFB 11 to come out. People were starting to get concerned. A lot of people were. I'm not exactly sure how long it took, because at this point, I think it was like 5 or 6 weeks, but it took longer than 4 weeks, and people were really concerned. In fact, I'm pretty sure that, yeah, June didn't have an episode, but it was released at the end of May, so yeah, it took a while for BFB 11 to come out, and to be honest, it was worth the wait. And then it would take a very long time for BFB 12 to come out, and then this is the point where the fandom goes hectic. There's pretty much a lot of fans being angry, and then they started doing stuff, and, well, yeah, pretty much after Michael left, the schedule has been dumped entirely. It can be assumed that Satomi is the showrunner right now, considering how she appears to be responsible for most of the things that happen. But yeah, I think that she can be assumed to be the current showrunner. It appears that ever since that she's joined, it appears that she's completely dumped the schedule for whatever reason. She's admitted several times that she's been lazy and depression's been getting in the way, which, I mean, you can leave that up to you how you want to interpret it. But, yeah. Ever since Satomi came in, it's just things have been getting slower and slower and slower. The wait for BFB 13 is still going on, and, well, it's been leaving everybody in chaos, to be honest. Like, people have been starting to lose interest in BFB, and for good reason. There's little updates, and there's not really anything that you can really wait for anymore. It's just waiting, waiting, and waiting, and waiting. Alright, next point I was asked to bring up was The Staff by Lavender Syrup. I'm not exactly sure what she wanted me to talk about, but, I'll try my hardest. I think she wants me to talk about Satomi being lazy and procrastinating, which I've touched upon, and yeah, I think it's kind of unacceptable considering that she's the current showrunner. I mean, yeah, Michael had amazing animation and lackluster writing, but at least he made the episodes come out in reasonable amounts of time. He was welcome to the show, and well, ever since Satomi came in, it's just everything's been so hectic. I'm pretty sure that the person that she wants me to talk about is Kane and Johnson. Basically, if you've been living under a rock, Kane and Johnson was a person who started animating for BFB, starting with BFB.5 and ending with BFB.12 because he decided to leave because of creative differences. After he left, several users came out to point things against him that he's been sexually harassing people in the past, and well, he earned himself a reputation, and a well-deserved one, to be honest. What he did was disgusting, and well, I don't think that he should honestly be looked upon anymore. He's a terrible person. I'm sorry. After what he did, I cannot accept him. I can't believe that he was even put in BFB in the first place. Sexual harassment is a terrible thing to do, and I cannot believe that this person was once working on a show for kids, and so this is I can't stand him. I can't believe what he did. So yeah, Scratch has been rather controversial ever since the incident in December. So yeah, Scratch is a terrible person, and I'm glad that he's off BFB, yada yada yada, let's move on. I should note that the next points I wanted to bring up weren't provoked by anyone necessarily, and were pretty much brought up by me. My first point I wanted to bring up is, well, the patron thing. At first, it wasn't really that bad. When it first started out, you paid $1 and your character appeared in the show. It wasn't too bad. The episodes came out in time, your character appeared, all was well. Until they decided to increase the donation amount to $5. I'm pretty sure the $5 increase was when I believe that Michael left and Satomi took over. And, yeah, ever since the show's been slowed down and now requires $5, to me, that's kind of showing greed. I'll emphasize upon this. Considering that Satomi's the current showrunner, she's getting lazier and lazier and lazier, and, people are recommending more and more and more and more, because, well, they have to pay to get updates on the episode. What the fuck? I mean, yeah. I guess recommending your character is cool and all, but, I mean, you're just extending your dollar just so you can get updates on the episode? Honestly, I feel that updates on the episode should be entitled to everybody. I don't know if I'm being an entitled fuck or not, but I just feel that, well, I feel that every single fan should be aware of what's going on in the show. This is unacceptable. And with the production getting slower and there's more people donating, it means that they're taking the money and they're giving the little vague percentages, and they're not, and their characters aren't, I mean, I understand that their characters are appearing in the episode, but it feels that they're honestly collecting their money. I mean, ever since that things have been happening, Satomi's been advertising the patron thing, and previously, before she took over, it appears that, well, updates were made to everybody. Michael tweeted updates about episode production, any possible delays, all that. And they were also told on HMN Central, which, I mean, I can appreciate. All of the things were given to fans, and now, Only the people that pay get it. That's very sickening. I understand that the character will appear in BFB eventually, but I've honestly waited since I'm pretty sure the last allowed characters were like done for May. And then the May recommendations, they've been waiting for a while. Where's their episode? Where's their characters? I would love to support BFB, but this is unacceptable. I would personally love to support the show, but the way that you're treating it is I can't support it. This is wrong. I thought you were simply paying just to have your character appear in the show, and now you're turning it into updates that were previously available to everybody for free? That's disgusting. Why are you doing this? This is honestly appalling, and I honestly can't believe that this is happening to the show. And the fact that they're taking more and more people and they're promising a debut once they get a monthly goal of $1 million, but knowing how slow the episode production is going, I doubt it's gonna. I think I've ranted enough because I'm about to blow. Next thing. I'd like to touch upon communication. I've also touched upon this in the patron thing, but in the past, Michael has been very vocal about things happening in the BFB production. He would constantly tweet updates and little tidbits and stuff, and well, it was very welcome. I appreciated it. I liked seeing what was going on in the show, when it will come out, and well, it was honestly good to see what was happening with the show. It was honestly great. And, well, I love to see that the show is in good hands, and I love that we as fans aren't left in the dust, unlike now. Michael has been communicating updates, and I'm pretty sure that the last update he's ever communicated was that BFB9 would take a while. And to be honest, the big changes, which was aka him leaving BFB, which he didn't say at the time, so basically, ever since Toby came over, she decided to make the updates on episodes which were previously available for free to everybody, all of a sudden only available to those who pay the higher tariff. And ever since, the BFB staff, especially during this hiatus, have been very, very secretive and very quiet about the show. Like, they're saying very little. Like, even to those who pay, they get very little done. I mean, ever since that everything happens, they only get percentages. They don't get storyboard panels, they don't get art, they don't get anything. They only get percentages. That's not worth it. That's not worth paying $1 or $5 or whatever. So ever since that, Satomi's been taking over, and during this hiatus where big things are happening, everybody's been so quiet, and it's honestly feel as if nothing is happening. We're only being given, like, vague things like, oh, we're taking a short break, we'll be back before you know it, and the quote, which I've been taken, is, in the, help us get to VidCon 2019 in Anaheim, California, which I believe was uploaded in November. In November, November's like 5 months ago now? So, how short is short to you exactly? Because I don't know, but it seems like that, short to you seems like, I don't know, 5 months. You've been leaving us in the dust already. So all of a sudden, Satomi decides to make an update on BFB 13 and say it'll be over 15 minutes long and all this stuff, and how it's probably going to come in January. Yeah, January's passed and Jax happened. Somebody asked Satomi about, when BFB 13 will come out and other confirmations, and she said that BFB 13 would be out from March to April on a Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. As of me recording this, if BFB 13 doesn't come out at 1 p.m. not Atlanta time, Eastern time, or 10 a.m. Pacific time, then Satomi can be officially called out for lying. Satomi's been pretty much playing and testing with us just for no reason, and well, she's been leaving us in the dust. She's pretty much been lazily and slowly working on the episode instead of doing the fast pace that was once being done during the early in BFB's production. It's honestly a shame Michael left, to be honest, because, well, if he were here right now, we could very well be in BFB 26 or whatever. Because if he didn't decide to leave, then we could have had much more BFB episodes, and we could have fared out much better. So Tommy's admitted several times that BFB13's taking it over because she's lazy and she's depressed, and, well, I'm depressed and I still get things done. What's your excuse? Well, I mean, I guess I'm being a little harsh right now, but I'm pretty upset with how she's treating the show. I mean, she says that BFB is her favorite show ever, besides Hilda for some reason. And, well, I don't feel that the way that she's treating the show, that's not how it seems. Concerned that she's been pushing BFB aside, and then she proceeds to call it her favorite cartoon or whatever. I'm calling bullshit. She's been neglecting the show for so far long that, honestly, I don't think anybody can deal with this anymore. I mean, sure, the last few sane fans can, but honestly, we've been pushed around for far too long. This is unacceptable. And the thing is, I don't think she cares. We talk about her, and, well, she doesn't talk about anything, and it just feels that she doesn't care about the show anymore. She doesn't care about what the fans say, and honestly, it honestly feels that BFB isn't really being cared about anymore. Feels like it's just being tossed aside and being exploited for the fans' money, for their RCs that'll appear in BFB whatever in a long time, but honestly, for the vague updates we get, it's not worth it. Why are we still doing this? This is unacceptable. If Satomi or any of the BFB staff are watching this right now, please tell me I'm wrong. Please tell me that you care about the show. I know you do. Please tell me I'm wrong. I really want to be so wrong about something already. I want to retract all these statements. You realize that, right? I wouldn't be making this video if I cared. I love B.F.D.I, and I have for years. I'm very dissatisfied with what's happening, and it feels that none of you care. Yes, it feels that I'm yelling at you, but I don't want to. I want to enjoy my show, and I want to have a good time. So please, tell me I'm wrong for once. Please tell me why I am wrong and the things are happening with the show. Please tell me that you care and that you actually want to do something with the show and show the audience that something will happen and BFB 13 will be out sometime, anytime, but just say it. Say it. Admit it, okay? That's all I ask for. Just say everything. Not everything, but you get my point. Just be more vocal. You've been leaving us fans far behind. I can't support this. This is wrong. Okay, maybe I'm getting a little too choked up or whatever, but I just want change. Just tell me I'm wrong. Please tell me that you care about the show and you do want something good to happen with it. And even that, just tell me I'm wrong, okay? That's all I ask for. Please. Did you do it? Okay. If you didn't, that's whatever. Maybe you didn't see it. Well, anyways, I just asked everybody I knew about every issue with BFB, and, well, this is what's been going on. And, well, I'm actually kind of upset. B.F.D.I is a show that I once knew and loved. I made plushes, I made a whole community, I caused problems, but, maybe this video will be a little controversial, I don't know. And, well, I do care about B.F.D.I. In fact, if I hated B.F.D.I, I wouldn't be making this video. I'm making this video about B.F.D.I because I care and I'm upset with this show's direction. I am not happy with the show's current direction and I want it to change. Please understand. Thank you. Good day, sir.